I'm Chris Stafford, and this is Art, the podcast where we get to know the women behind their art.
If you don't feel it, I'll make you feel it. I'll show you what I mean. If you don't feel it, I'll make you feel it. I'll bring you to your knees. If you follow me.
Hello and welcome if you're a new listener. We know how much choice there is in your podcast app, so thank you for taking the time to check us out. And if you've been a regular follower, thank you for sticking with us. And I hope you will share the show with someone you think might enjoy it too. Our goal is to spotlight women in all areas of visual arts, so you get to know the women behind their art. And this week, my guest is Ana Amortegui, who is a Colombian director of photography with a string of credits, including Resident Alien, Black Lighting, Into the Dark, 20s Season 2, Gentrified, the web series, Heal, and Quantum Leap, Seasons 1 and 2, which is currently in production. Ana defines passion, determination and focus in her ambitions, never letting anything or anyone stand in the way of her goals. And her journey from being a dancer in Colombia has taken her to the heart of Hollywood, where women have to fight extra hard to break into the tough world of running camera. But Ana set herself a goal which she has never lost sight of and worked her way up from camera assistant to director of photography. Born in Medellin, Colombia in 1979, Ana lost her mother Miriam when she was just 7 years old, so she was raised with her father Santiago and two brothers, Jose and Javier. She proved herself a natural sportswoman in her youth, even playing softball for her country. But it was dancing that became an early passion, and one that grew into her first career. Undeterred by her father's opposition to her dancing ambitions, she appeased him with being a diligent student and studying electrical engineering. Her talent soon drew the attention of casting directors and producers, and she was hired on protagonists del novela as their dance teacher. Whilst on set, Ana began to develop an interest in camera work and would take every opportunity to learn new skills. Following electrical engineering school, Ana graduated from video production and filmmaking at the Art Institute of California in 2010. While she was in school, she would work a variety of jobs to make a living until she established herself in the industry. Her determination and passion on set led her from one job to another, and she recalls that the turning point coincided with getting pregnant with her daughter Mila. Her friend and fellow cinematographer Gretchen Warthen says, "Within 4 years, she achieved everything she told me she was going to do. Ana's will and positive attitude is amazing. She inspires me always, and I am so very proud of all that she has accomplished." During the actors' strike, Ana made use of the time studying a model of responsible parenting, as well as photography skills and face painting. Ana lives in Los Angeles with her husband, actor Danny Pardo, and their 5-year-old daughter, Mila. Ana, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm delighted that you're joining us, and you have been introduced to the Art Podcast through a mutual friend, Gretchen Warthen, who was a guest on the show. So I'm going to do something I haven't done before, Ana, to start the show off and quote Gretchen, who says that she met you 6 years ago when you were making the transition from assistant camera to operator. Quote, "Since then, she has worked hard to become a DP and has done Resident Alien and Quantum Leap. Within 4 years, she achieved everything she told me she was going to do. Ana's will and positive attitude is amazing. She inspires me always, and I am so very proud of all that she has accomplished." Now, when I read about you online on your website, and I came to the conclusion there's probably 3 words at least to introduce you, Ana. And that is someone with passion, determination, and focus. Now, you're also a salsa lover and a dream pursuer. So does that pretty much sum up Ana Amortegui?
Yes, and I'm actually just so teary by Gretchen's words. I am so grateful to her, and I mean, she's been my inspiration. And oh my God, now I'm like a little bit teary. Yes, I can say that, I am so passionate for what I do. I really, really love this. It's like I dream of it. I went for it, and I'm being so blessed that I can say that I am a cinematographer, that I live my passion, that, I lived like this world that I wanted to be so much in. I do love salsa and tango too. I love dancing. I used to be a dancer, so that's like another one of my passions. But yes, thank you so much. I got so teary. Thank you.
Well, it sounds that you follow your dreams and your passions, and you've had amazing success. I mean, significant milestones along the way. But I want to go back to where it all began, Anna, in Medellin in Northern Colombia, where you were born in 1979, because dancing came first, didn't it?
Yes. So, and actually, yes, I was a dancer since I was in high school. And then I also didn't go to school for filmmaking. I went to school and I became an electrical engineer. So I was doing dancing in school. And then when I graduated, I went right away. I never imagined I was going to be a cinematographer. I always thought I was going to be an electrical engineer. I wanted it to design hydroelectrics or to do something with like alternative ways of energy. I wanted to generate energy. That was my dream.
Where did that come from? What inspired that?
I don't know, like growing up, I was always kind of very good for math and all the things. And, at the beginning, I wanted to be a petroleum engineer a petroleum engineer. But when I had my conversations in high school with like the advisors and people who had done the career before, they always told me, "Oh, Ana, you can be a woman and be I don't know if I'm saying it right, petroleum engineer or like an oil engineer. I don't know how to say it right."
Yeah, I think that's right. Petroleum engineer. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So they told me, "No, you will start. Like you can't have a family. There's no woman allowed in the fields. Like this is not a career for you." So that right away they kind of like told me not to do it. And I was like, okay, but that's what I want to do. But everybody kind of closed the doors on me, told me this is not the career for you. So then I started looking around and I wanted some sort of that. Like I knew I wanted to do, I've always been very much like a tomboy, right? So I wanted something like that. And then I found electrical engineering and I fell in love with it. And that's what I went to school for. And I did my 5 years of engineering while I was a dancer as well. So it was pretty hard in a way, because I was either dancing or in classes. So I didn't have like the normal life that, a college student has, where you party and do things at school and no, I was either, I would wake up at 4, be at the gym, from 6 to 8, 8 to 12, I was dancing. And then I would go to like from 12 to 2 to swim. And then I will be from 2 to 8 at classes, at the university. So it was pretty intense. Or I would have to take off to go to do shows and then kind of do additional tests or additional homeworks to be able to keep up. I mean, they really supported me. And, my teachers were really supportive. My classmates were extremely supportive because they knew everything that I was doing and how busy of a life was. So I was very lucky and I was able to graduate.
So as a little girl then, take us back to a little town in Medellin in Northern Colombia and what little Ana was doing then. What were your earliest memories?
One of the things I think made me who I am is I lost my mom when I was really, really young. So I lost my mom when I was 7 and I grew up with 2 brothers and my dad. So it was like a very, boyish household, right? So I would, instead of being, playing so much with the dolls and stuff like that, I was running around and playing with, my brothers. And it was more, I became really quick, like very much of like a tomboy, right? I rather, I started doing sports right away. My dad put me and I played tennis, then I played softball. So I was always doing sports. I was always running around, very active, more than the girly side. I really liked going to school. So I was always, I I was a good student. For some reason, it went easy on me. So I was a very good student. So it was that my life was going to school, playing sports, and just, yeah, I didn't have, not having my mom, I didn't have like that feminine kind of model. So like, again, I didn't wear dresses or did my makeup. No, I was always much like a little boy. But that was my whole life, was going to play tennis, softball, going to school. And then I knew deep inside of me that I always loved dance. But since my dad, and he kind of like never introduced me to that, like, I don't know, he always thought of sports for me. And then I looked for it myself, and then I said, I want to dance. And then I started dancing. That's when I started taking classes and then auditioned for the company. And I became part of like the main company of my city. And, then, it was that. Then I have to leave the tennis, the softball. With softball, I play softball so much. I even represented my country. I played for Colombia in the junior category. So that was also like a big thing for me, softball.
Wow, that could have been a career itself then, if you'd have wanted to.
Yes, yes. But again, I guess in that time, and that's something that, I guess I was very lucky that at the end of the day, I didn't let them like cast my dreams, because, again, for softball, they would always tell you, you won't go anywhere. You can't, softball is not that big in Colombia. It's like back in the days, everything was so traditional, and we grew up with so many beliefs and limitations that kind of like didn't let you be who you really were. Yeah, you wonder what would have been if I had chosen just to be a softball player. I guess my passion would have, driven me to, I don't know, become better and bigger, or explore, go to another country, pray for somebody else, but you're not used to it. And then people tells you, no, 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 no. They close the door. They say, no, 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 so many times. And you trust those people, or you believe. But I was very lucky that I did. When I started dancing, my dad was really against it. He said I couldn't dance and go to school at the same time. That I was not going to be able to make it. That, because this was like a company, like we would have shows every week. This was like, I would have to train every single day for 4 hours or more. So he's like, you won't be able to do it. You can't study engineering and then also be a dancer. You can't go to school and also be a dancer. And I told, like, just give me a chance. If I ever lose a class or a subject or whatever, take me out. So I made myself that promise that I was never going to, lose one of my subjects or classes at university or school, because my love was to dance. I wanted to be a dancer. So I did it. My dad could never take me out, because I always delivered. I always did everything I could in my power to have good grades. But it shouldn't be that way,
How old were you at that time then, Ana?
I was 15. From 15, I danced in that company from 15 to 23, 22.
Yeah, I just want to go back to the time, when you said you were 7 years old, which is very young to lose your mother, and then you had no other sort of female role models, so to speak. Or did you have did you have aunts and grandmothers then that would be, the female influence in your life as a child, and that did encourage you to dance?
So when my mom died, we had an aunt that went to live with us, but unfortunately my grandpa got very sick, so she had to go with him. So she was also gone really, really quickly in our lives, and then my dad had, a girlfriend who now is his wife, who we love, my stepmom, who I love. But no, I never had anybody. I started dancing because there was something very deep inside of me that said, you have to dance. There was something, I always loved dancing, but nobody encouraged me. Instead, they were saying, like, you can't do that because you won't make a living out of dancing. It's not a career. You won't go anywhere. But I never listened to them. And kind of like the proof was that I made a living out of being a dancer, and a very good one. After I was the dance teacher in a reality show, and that was very famous in my country. And then the network hired me to start choreographing soap operas and be coach for like actors on dancing and corporal movement. So you can make a living out of being an artist. Just people, sometimes they don't think of it, or they just, it's not the normal thing, but that's the beauty of it. The beauty of it. You just need, if you want it, you'll get it. You need to put your full passion into it. You need to go for it. You need to kind of, be focused and just go for it. Do what you really love.
Yeah, and clearly you had all of those, drivers. You were determined, you focused, you were ambitious. You clearly knew where you wanted to go with this. But how did you get the first job then with Dancing with the Stars?
So I was part of the company that it's very famous in my country. It's called Ballet Folklorico Antioquia. It's one of the biggest companies in the whole country. And then through them, they were looking for a dance teacher for a very famous reality show. But it wasn't about dancing; it was about acting. But the actors needed a dance teacher, so I went to the capital, to Bogota. I auditioned for it, and they called me and they said, we want you. So I went to Argentina for like 4 months because the reality was shot back in Argentina. And then after that, it went really great. And then the network is, we want to keep working with you. Can you come and choreograph this very famous soap opera? So I did that. The soap opera was about dancing. It was about these girls. And I'm sorry to say this, like in a burdel strip club. So I would have to do all their choreographies. And then, after that, I also worked in another soap opera that had reggaeton. So I did the choreographies. And then in general with the actors for, their corporal expression and to teach them how to dance with singers, commercials. Like I made a living out of just being a dancer.
So you started traveling then once you graduated from college then to take up the dancing?
That I actually was not finished with engineering when I went to Argentina to shoot the reality show. I was doing my thesis. That was my last semester. So I was almost done, but I still needed to do my thesis and present my thesis, but I was able to do both. And also with dancing, we traveled the world, Chris. I went to Canada, the States. I went to France, Italy, Panama. I mean, we went everywhere dancing. This company was huge. And we traveled a lot before. I even had to take 1 semester off because we had this big tour in Europe. So I had to stop going to engineering for 6 months and then came back. We traveled all over the world with dancing.
And meanwhile, what was your dad's reaction to this when he could see that you clearly could make a living out of it?
I think he now gets it, but my dad is amazing. He's admirable because, he was a widow very early. He was really young and he was left with 3 kids, right? So such a huge responsibility. And he could have just said, go to your own, have somebody take care of us. But he didn't. He really committed to us. He was very loving. He really worked really, really hard. So you can understand that all he wanted it for us was to have a good life. He kind of was scared what happens if I die too. What is going to be of them if they don't have an education, if they don't have a good job. So in his mind, a good job wasn't dancing. A good job was being a doctor or an engineer or working in business or being a lawyer. And I get it. I completely understand, so he would always tell me, like, you wasted your life. You went to school for engineering and look what you are. And, I've always been like the black, how do you say, the black
sheep of the family?
Yeah, because I'm like the crazy one, right? Like my 2 brothers are like so intelligent and so prosperous and so far in their careers. I mean, they are, wow. And I was like, and the starving artist, right? Because I did make a good living out of dancing, but it was never compared to what they did. And when I came to the States to pursue filmmaking, I was starving, So it's like, I can understand my dad always kind of being worried about me, just because, again, I think he feels, even to this day, he feels the responsibility of like, I need her to be okay, because if I'm not here one day, what would happen? Even if he doesn't support me, it's that thing of a dad loving, wanting the best for his daughter. So, it was hard because he did never support me with dancing. It was really hard for him to understand that I was not an engineer and a dancer. It was really, really hard.
Your dad, Santiago, is a businessman. What type of business was that then?
He used to do like spare parts for cars and like gadgets and like the auto business thing. He would export to Venezuela and other countries. So it was very normal. And my mom was a housewife. So he wanted that for me. He wanted me to be, like my mom, like a housewife, and then have a normal career. But Ana wanted it completely the opposite. I was, again, very, very hippie, crazy, very active, all over the place. I've always been like a dreamer, always have been like that, very crazy.
And your mum, Miriam, she was also an artist, apparently. She was a painter.
She was the best. Oh my God, Chris, she did such beautiful work. I remember very little things about her because I was really young when she died. So I have like snippets of her life that I always try to put together, but I haven't been able to put like a full day. But I do remember so clearly in my dad and mom's bedroom, she used to have her, how do you call where you put the painting, like the sticks with the, where you put your canvas.
The easel?
The easel, yeah. She used to have an easel next to the window and she would paint there. And she loved to do nudes, right? That was her thing. And she used mediums, right? But she used the black pen, how do you say it? That is like charcoal.
Oh, yes.
She used to use that, or pastels. That was like her favorite. We had many, many, many paintings of her in our home. And I still have some with me, not here in LA, but, in Colombia. My dad has kept them for me. And my brother we have kept those paintings with us forever. She used to be so good. She used to take classes. I believe she did some art shows when she was going, to class with the people from her class. She was so good.
And did you have any interest then when you were very young to do any artwork, painting, drawing?
Yes, when she died, my dad put me in her same class. Like he took me to the same place where she was taking classes. And I really enjoyed it. But the problem is it became too expensive and my dad couldn't afford it. So that part kind of like I couldn't, pursue it because I couldn't take the classes. But I do have to say that, I'm very crafty. I love, I'm not a painter, but I love crafts. And, I help my daughter a lot and we paint, we do stuff like, yes, I like all that.
It runs in the family because your mum's father was also an artist then.
Yes. And he died also after my mom pretty soon. So I didn't meet him that much, but I do remember that at my grandma's, my grandma used to have one of his paintings that was so pretty. It was this like Spanish girl, like a flamenco dancer with this beautiful red dress and on her pose. And he used to do those paintings too.
So it really does run in the family, all this artistic bent that you have. And clearly the dancing is something that's really within you. You were telling me before that you just hope and pray that your daughter, Milo, who's now just 5 years old, that she will become a dancer too. It means a lot to you, doesn't it?
Look, if I were to be born again, I would choose to be like a classic ballet dancer. That would be my choice. Like I would love to be just that. So when I see my daughter, and I dance a lot when I was pregnant, oh my God, I dance and I put her music. And when she was born, I would hold her and dance salsa with her. So she's been dancing. She's really, really like even from my belly, like because I love dancing. So she's been exposed to so much and she really likes it. I was so scared that she's so young that she might, not want to do it. But so far, she's been in class for more than a year and she enjoys it. The other day we went to like a tango congress, like 4 days of just tango classes for me. And she was there the whole time listening to the music, watching the dancers. We've gone to Argentina because my husband is Argentinian. And over there, we see the dancers too. We go to tango shows and we do choreographies together, like tango choreography. So my hope is that she falls in love with dancing. And again, I don't want to be a dance mom, but I hope she does fall in. And if she decides to become a dancer, I will fully and completely support her.
Yeah, she will have all the support that she needs, I'm sure. And now let's go back to there's a turning point, Ana, in your career when choreography was obviously something that you were very into with the dancing, as you said, and it took you around the world. But came a point when you became so fascinated with what was happening behind the camera that you decided that that's really where you wanted to go and change your career completely and be a camera woman. So tell us, what was the moment? Was there a moment, or was it a series of moments that you realized that there was a new passion building in you?
Yes, it was when I came back from Argentina of shooting that reality show that I started working on that soap opera where I needed to do all these dances for the actresses. And then, I would ask the director of photography, like, what do you need, from me so I can create the choreography that is effective for the camera? Because when you dance for an audience, it's very different than when you dance for the cameras. It's a very different dynamic. You need different things. You want to show different things. So then we would sit together and he would kind of, told me this, this and that, make sure this, make sure that. And then I will work on that to make sure I was creating something that will work for him. And then, so I will, like, every time I will see the actresses performing or I'll be performing with them and we will check the footage, then I would just sit with him and then talk about it and then kind of start like, wow, this is so beautiful. And then start talking about the lighting and the things he was doing. And I just started sitting down next to him almost every day. So I kind of started falling in love with cinematography right away. And then a movie from the States came. And then I had a small role in that film, but I was always next to the gaffer because he was Colombian. The gaffer was Colombian, so I would always be with him and he would explain me what he was doing. And I was, asking questions to the DP, like more, I didn't care about being in the movie. I was just more about like all these things that were behind the scenes. And I start talking to the DP and he tells me like, if this is what you want to do, where are the movies made? And I say, well, the States, well, that's where you gotta go. And I didn't have anything that was tying me back to Colombia. I was single. I was just working. And I said, well, yeah, I want to go to school for this, and did everything I could and, came to study here.
But it meant giving up the dancing, though, Ana, which you're so passionate about. Was that a difficult decision? Did you realize you were going to have to, make a complete break and leave the dancing behind?
Well, in my mind, I wasn't, right? I said, okay, I'm going to go to the States and I'm going to teach and I'm going to take more classes because I needed something, to support myself. And I said, this is amazing. I can, maybe choreograph for somebody or things like that, right? So I said, maybe it's not a completely forget about dancing. But the reality is when I came here, it's like every immigrant, right? You have to work so much, so many jobs. And I mean, to be completely truthful to here, I don't know if I'm going to get into trouble, but I had a student visa. So I wasn't allowed to work. So I couldn't go to a studio and said, can I teach here? Because I didn't have the proper visa to work. So I couldn't take classes because they were so expensive. And I had nobody to support me. I just made my jump here, So I just couldn't. also because everybody will tell me, well, how about the liability? If you teach and somebody breaks an ankle, and you're going to be liable, and you don't have the visa. It was like, again, all these closing doors. So what I started to do is the normal, right? I started waiting tables, working at the farmer's market, working at the library. I was like a tutor for math and Spanish at the library. I did get a job at the college where I was going that I was able to. That was legit. But I started doing all these different jobs because I needed to find my way to survive here. But what I did not let happen is that's why I became like a salsa lover, because the only way I had to keep dancing, which was my life, which was something that gave me life, was going to salsa dancing in LA. So here in LA, there's a huge salsa community. And every day there is a place where salsa happens. And it's like huge. Like people goes there to really, really dance. It's like, it's not partying, it's not drinking, it's you go, you salsa. So it's like professionals and people that are like very much in love. So we all go to those places. And that's the only way. I said, well, I don't have, money to take a class, but I can go to a club on Monday and dance all night for 2 hours. And that will be my dancing. So that's what I started doing. I started dancing salsa almost like at least two to three times a week. And that's how I always kept my dancing going.
Is it your favorite dance?
That and tango. Salsa and tango are my very favorites.
Yeah. And where were you living at the time? You were in LA, but whereabouts did you find accommodation that you could afford?
Well, I first got to Miami, and I did have family in Miami, so that was a little bit more simple. But again, where are the movies made? In LA. So then I very blindly, never been to LA before, not having friends or a place or anything. I had $2,000. I grabbed my things, bought a ticket plane, transferred the school. So all I knew is that I needed to live in the Santa Monica area or close by, because that's where the school was, and I didn't have a car. So I sort of got, I don't know what took me inside. I didn't even think about it. Once they told me I could transfer the school, I did it. I bought a plane ticket, came here, and I had a friend of a friend, and he let me stay in his place for like a week. But in a week, I found a room. So I had to give like the first and the last month. So those $2,000, I was already with like 600 left. And I was really, those moments I remember one day I took a bus trying to find a job that the lady that I rented the room from told me there's like this restaurant, why don't you check, maybe they can hire you. So I didn't even have a cell phone. So I was like looking in the computers, writing down the buses that I needed to take. I go to the restaurant, they tell me no. I go out to the street, there comes a bus. I hop on the bus. And then for some reason, I stay on the bus until this beautiful street. I step down on the street. I'm by the beach, by the Santa Monica Pier. I've never been there. Never. I just had gotten here, never been to LA. So I've never been to the Santa Monica Pier. It was October. I stepped down. I was so lost. I keep walking. And then the sun is setting. And I just sat down on a bench. I started to cry. Oh. And I was like, I have to make it. I'm going to make it. It was so pretty. And I was in a way tired of because it was hard. But I was like, I know I'm going to make it. And I'm not here because I have a bigger purpose. I am going to make it. I just got to keep going. And then I just enjoyed the sunset. That it was the most beautiful one. I walk around and find my way back to the house. And I'm never going to forget that day. But, I later, like a week later, I found a job at a bakery in Venice. And then I was selling apples at a farmer's market. I started working at a rental house for lighting and grip and lighting. And I was also tutoring, you find these people that are so kind to you. But there was an ad in Craigslist about a mom needing a tutor for her twin daughters with math and Spanish. And I had no experience. I've never been a teacher, but I just wrote her from my heart. And I said, I just got here. I'm an engineer. I also am from Colombia, so I speak Spanish. I promise I work hard, and then she gave me a chance. She gave me a chance without any teaching experience or without being a tutor. So I tutor her children for like a year. And she was so kind to me.
What was her name, Anna?
Colette.
So she was one of those people really gave you a leg up, and helped you in this transition. And this was what year? Because you graduated from the Art Institute of California in 2010, didn't you? So what year would that have been when you arrived in LA?
In 2008, because I started at the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale. So I had done, some time there, and then I had 2 years left here so I came here in 2008 in October. Yeah. Because I remember kind of that time, September, October.
So when the time came for you to graduate, then what were the prospects for you? What was the reality of life in LA then by now?
Well, what is, I think that life kind of, shows you where you have to go and kind of puts people and experiences and situations that are just one leg, gets you keep going one step at a time. So by the time I actually couldn't even go to my graduation because I was working. By that time, I was able to kind of get like my normal working visa. So I had a mentor through a program with Film Independent. I got a mentor, Javier Grovet, and he took me to New Mexico to be a camera PA and in a show that he was shooting in New Mexico. So I was there at the end of 2010. I was already kind of working. And I had, worked, since I came here, even working for free, I was always on a set, learning and trying to meet people. And so in 2010, I was already working. He was already my mentor. So he gave me a lot of chances. And through him and other people, like one time we went with the school, we went to Panavision because they have a student program. And, they give you a tour, they explain you. And I asked so many questions. And then I asked the guy, can I work in Panavision? Can I come and volunteer? Like, no, Anna, you can't, we can't have you here, for free. I said, I don't care. I'll come every day. I'll volunteer. It's like, I can't help you with that. But it's like, there's a movie that they're making that they need PA. So I went and PA for that movie. Like, you meet all these people that are willing to give you chances. I also am very grateful. I worked at a rental house in some concept lighting that now they do studio cards. And they also hire me with no experience. And I would unload and load the trucks whenever they were on a job. They helped me so much and gave me a chance. And I learned so much about lighting because I was working on that shop. A lot of the gaffers that would come and go with the jobs sometimes would take me if it wasn't non-union. Sometimes I would drive the truck because there was this truck that was a stick. Nobody knew how to drive stick, but I knew. I come from Colombia. We only have sticks. So then they will say me with a 3-ton, and then, you work as a grip, things like that. You start. So by the time I finished school, I had already met a lot of people. I had worked really hard. And so it was good. It was good. I had no problems.
And what was the turning point then for you? You were getting jobs, but you knew that you wanted to be the camera operator. What was the point where you actually reached that milestone then in your career and to go where you wanted to go to be a DP?
To be a DP. So again, I've been so blessed. I was working as a camera assistant for many years. I've never hustled to become a first AC because I knew. So you go camera PA, you go utility, you go loader, then you become a second, then a first, then an operator, then a DP. But I knew, like, I was just comfortable being a second AC because I know that, being a first AC is a hard job. It's really, really hard. So for it to be good, like in a good, you need to spend many years pulling focus. And that's not what I want to do. I can't take all that time for them become an operator and then a DP. I want to be a DP. So then what being a second AC let me always do was always being on set next to my operator and always asking, seeing them and all that stuff. So you start working for crews that become like your family. And then I had another mentor of mine. His name is Peter Kowalski. He gave me, I was a second AC on his show, The Last Ship, and they needed a extra camera. And he already had seen my work. I had done like a web series that went to Sundance. And so he had been seeing my work. And again, I was the one that was always like on the weekends asking for things to shoot on the side. So they knew that this is what I wanted to do. So he gave me the first chance to be like an operator for a day in his show. And it went so good that then I became like the extra camera. Like every time they needed a C or a D camera, like I was the person that, you know, they will give me a chance. And then I had my other mentor and amazing friend, Tim Bellen. I was also working for him as an assistant. And then he calls me one day and he tells me, you know, that if I wanted to be like an operator for a pilot that he was shooting to the UC camera. So those were the first people that they were so kind to give me a chance as an operator to leave the assistant world. What happened is that by the time Tim asked me to be an operator, I was already pregnant. So that was a little bit hard because, again, I was doing things here and there, shooting a lot of independent projects and music videos and the web series and little things, really a lot of passion projects. There comes a time when I meet my husband and then I become pregnant. And, you know, not much had happened. And then I was introduced to my agent, Brian Goldberg from WPA, and we had a meeting. All that is like in the same time. So I had a meeting with him and he tells me, because I had been to many agents before and everybody is like, no, you don't have enough body of work. You don't have enough body of work. You need to keep working maybe in a later time. Like everybody kind of like, I couldn't find an agent because that's in a way something that is really important for you to have to be able to succeed. So then I meet with Brian and then he tells me, Ana, you're lovely. Your work is beautiful. Unfortunately, at this moment, your body of work is not enough for the clients that we have, but this is what you can do. And he gave me his time. He's playing me things that I could do. And, you know, and said, let's keep in touch and, you know, we'll talk. Then I start doing the job with Tim as an operator on his pilot. And I get a call from Brian like 2 weeks in. And he's like, there's this very low budget film, non-union, that is looking for a DP. And I thought of you. Do you want me to, you know, put your name up? And I said, absolutely. And I did the interview and I got the job. So the problem is that I was pregnant. So I couldn't tell anybody. I didn't want to tell anybody because I was so scared if I had told Brian or the person who was going to hire me on the movie or even my mentor about the one I was operating for, that I was pregnant, that they will think that I was like a liability. So then I went to Atlanta to shoot that film. And then Brian calls me again. He's like, there's another film like this one in New Orleans. Do you want to do it? So I start, since that day, I never stopped. So I think that when I found out that I was pregnant is when my life changed. When everything that I dreamed, the bigger projects, the opportunity to be just a DP is when it came, everything came in. I think that that's like Mila is like my angel, my lucky charm. She's my everything. When she came in, everything changed for me. All my dreams kind of came true. Her and the jobs that I was waiting, the jobs that I always dreamed, just the fact that I just could be a DP, not an assistant, not an operator, I could be the DP.
And just when you thought, too, that having a child might be, or even being pregnant, would be a disadvantage in that industry because we know how competitive, how ruthless it is. I'm wondering if you had any female role models, too, that were helping you in your journey.
No, I mean, I was so scared to say anything that not even, only my dad knew and my brothers, but like I didn't tell any close family. My grandma, my uncles, nobody. We didn't tell anybody just because we didn't want anybody to find out. Because all the opportunities that I was dreaming of, they were coming along, right? Then later, I found out, and she also didn't announce it until she was going to have the baby, that Rachel Morrison was also, she had her daughter like a month before. So when I was going to, I reached out to her. She's very nice. I worked for her I was a grip on one of her movies. And we talk over the phone. She was very kind to giving her time and advise me. And she said, it's different for both of us because, the name that I have, like I can have a trailer with a nursery and I'll be okay. And I know you can ask for those things. But she was really kind and sweet and encouraged me a lot. So, even though it was at the end, she was really kind to connect with me and give me her insight and tell me her experience about being a mom and working in the industry.
And when you were getting these jobs, as you said, one came after the other and will continue, hopefully, once we get past this strike, because you're still working on Quantum Leap.
Yes. So I think that with my daughter, she's been always kind of that blessing because I did like 3 movies before she was born. I worked until I was 9 months pregnant. I left on a Friday and then I gave birth the next week or like on Monday or Tuesday. 9 months pregnant. I was with my belly and the camera on the shoulder. I finished my pregnancy with an operator job just because it was easier that way. I didn't have to stress that much. It was an amazing job. I was operating for another show for my mentor. He gave me, he calls me. He's like, Ana, I don't know what you're doing, but I have this show. I want you to be C camera. And I was already like 6 months pregnant. I couldn't hide it anymore because it's hard, when you're doing these movies and, my daughter was really good to me, but there was so much I could do to hide my belly. And also, it's like, I remember, I don't know if you see, we carry this vest with the camera mounted to it and you have to tie it to your waist and your chest.
Yeah.
But I couldn't because I couldn't put pressure on my belly. But I couldn't tell anybody, but I still had to do the shot. So it's like, I'm putting it like I didn't tie it that much. So it was very loose. So I had to carry the whole weight of the camera. I was 6 months pregnant with like very loose clothing. It was really hard. So when my mentor called me, do you want to do this job? I cried. It's like, I'm pregnant. He's like, it's okay. Come and operate as long as you want. We fully support you. So he was really nice to give me a job when I was 7 months. From 7 to 9, I worked with him as an operator and I finished my pregnancy like that. I finished on a Friday and then gave birth the next week.
Wow. Did not miss a beat, did you? That's fantastic. And getting back into work then once you'd had Mila, was that easy for you fitness-wise then because you'd stayed fit and active right up to the actual birth?
It is. I think in that sense it's easy, but it's hard because, I was back at work after 6 weeks. So just, kind of leaving her side for so long, the pumping, all this stuff, I still had to do it. So then you have to find a way to say, for example, do the pumping at work, but you're an operator, so you need to be on set every moment. So everybody was really supportive. I do have to say that I think this industry is really nice in that sense. And at least I got I was able to go back to the same job. So that was really good. I never lost my job. And then they did everything I needed to do for me to be able to pump and do everything that I needed to do. But it's hard because, your baby is so small. So, it's really hard. I had the support of my dad and my husband, who's always been very supportive. And we made it work, and it's hard. It's hard on your mind. It's hard on the heart more than the body, I think.
But you did have that support system all around. And you mentioned your husband, Danny Pardo, who's an actor as well. How did you guys meet?
We met on the set of a movie. I was operating the B camera, and he was one of the actors. And, in LA, it's so weird that there's no Spanish speakers on set, but in this movie, for some reason, there weren't any. It was all very English spoken, but he's from Argentina. So we kind of hit it off right away because he did speak Spanish. So we would talk and, share a lot of the days. And I thought he was so hot. He looks so hot. So I would remember put my eye on the finder, and look through the camera. I was like, oh my God. And he was so beautiful. And then, we just talk the whole time, but then I was going to move on.
Were you both single at the time?
Yeah, we were both, and very lucky. We were both singles. And at that moment, I was going to move on to another job. And I said, this is my last day here. And we exchanged numbers. And then, he's like, I want to take you out on a date. And I say, well, I told him, like, it's either today or tomorrow, because after this, I start a new job and I have to shoot things over the weekend. So I don't know if I have time. And then we went out like that time, and that was it. And then we've been together since.
Yeah, no pressure. It's either today or tomorrow, and then I'm moving on.
I know, but it sounds funny, but it was so true. Like, I was so busy. I was going to start working on a TV show. And then I had a bunch of shoots over the weekends of like independent stuff. I was always shooting over the weekends. I was that person that was always shooting something in the weekends. So it was true. I was like, either we do it now, because then I don't know when, but we did it and it was great.
So when you look at your body of work to now, then, Anna, which do you prefer? Which genres do you prefer? Is it narrative? Is it documentaries? Unscripted? Where is it that your passion really lies now? Because you've done a little bit of everything, reality as well. What's your true passion?
My narrative, that's the, kind of like my biggest passion. Like, I've been enjoying a lot doing TV, and I've been very lucky with the shows that I've gotten. And, like, I want to do features. I want to and I love like the drama, thriller, horror, action kind of vibe. I love that because you can be so creative. You can, push your looks. You can do more risky things visually. So that's what I love about those. Of course, if you are an artist, you're able to adapt and do anything. So I love the rest of the stuff, but those are my favorite.
And what's your role with Quantum Leap? Are you DP for that now?
Yes. So I'm the main DP. I did the pilot, which in a way this is a huge accomplishment, because a lot of the there's cinematographers that only do that. So say a show is going to start, they hire a DP that does the first episode to set up the look. And then he goes away and they hire 2 DPs to continue the look of the show. So there are DPs that only do that. Not always the case, but a lot of them are only like pilot DPs. But I was really lucky that the showrunners and the producers gave me a chance to do the pilot, establish the look, and then I continue the series. So I've shot season 1, and right now we were shooting season 2 when the strike hit.
And what does that look like then as soon as you get the green light to go back to work? When do you think that will happen? Because we're going into the holidays too.
Yeah, so a lot of people, what is said out there is that a lot of the shows won't start until next year. But the good thing is that we knew that the strike was coming. So we finished season 1 and we didn't take a break. We started season 2 right away. So the show was really ready for the strike. So by the time that the strike hit, they had already written the rest of the episodes, they were kind of ready to keep going. So we had something really strong already meaning with the episodes, they were all written until the finale when the strike hit. Now that the writers' strike finished, they opened the writers' room again, and they are working on the scripts because we have 5 more left. We were gonna do 13 episodes, and we shot 8 of those 13 episodes. So hopefully, if the strike gets resolved soon, we are ready, like production-wise and logistic-wise, we are ready to go back as soon as possible because our season is airing as well. So we need to catch up and make sure that people have something to watch. So we will be hopefully and gratefully one of the first shows to go back to work.
So how have you made the most of the time that you've been off then during the strike, Anna? What have you been busy with?
Yeah, I think one of the best things, and I always, you want to always look for the positive, is the time to be a mom, because I don't get to be a mom on a regular basis because I'm always working. So I only see my daughter at nighttime or when I get her to school, and sometimes I cannot even do that. So it's just the weekends for us. So being able to drop her off, pick her up, stay here, with her, be fully present, and be like a volunteer mom at school. The other day for Halloween, I took photos of all the kids and the costumes. And so that has been like a big blessing. I'm like the absent mom at school. Nobody knows me. So this time was really good to connect with her completely, be fully present, have, she can have a real mom. Most of the time, my husband is the main caregiver. So it's really hard. You live with like a mom guilt because you miss a lot of the stuff. So just taking her to dance class and being able to stay there and watch her dance, or tennis class and seeing her thrive or have issues is really pretty. That's one of the most positive things. The other things is that I've been taking, a couple of photography classes and Photoshop classes, because, one of like my dreams too, and on the side would be to do like pregnancy photograph, like photograph pregnancy girls with like a very, very different, like more artistic, kind of like more editorial. So I wanted it to, I've never done flashes or the still photography kind of like normal. So I took a couple of classes. I took Photoshop classes. I also did like a huge film test. Did some film test. I also learned face painting because my daughter loves face painting. So I've been doing that a lot. I've been taking, going to YouTube and learning how to do, the rainbows and the tiger and the unicorn. And so I've been taking classes of everything I can, trying to stay busy. And, they say that the more you learn new things, the more you're, you gotta always keep active. So I've been learning a lot in this break.
I would imagine, that quality time that you're able to spend with your daughter, Mila, is even more poignant for you because you lost your mother so young in those formative years. Does that weigh on you?
So much, because, we just had Halloween, and she decided by herself that she wanted it to be a Colombian girl, right? Because in this house, we always listen to cumbias and merengues and the Colombian music, Argentina music, Latin music, everything. We always dance in here. So we were listening to cumbias from my country. And, we have a book. I have tons of book about Colombia. And she's like, Mommy, I want to be like this one. And she showed me like a campesina, which is from my city, actually, from my state. And so my dad was really kind, sent her the costume. But one of the things that I remember about my mom is that she always used to do, like she knew how to sew and how to, she used to paint my like little shirts and stuff like that. So every time there was like a Halloween costume, like she would get a costume from my cousin, but she would make something new to it, right? She would do whatever. She would put something new. She would sew something different. She would do my makeup and take me to all my neighbors so they could see me, I remember that. So I've been doing the same. Every time there's a Halloween, I try to get a costume, but I do exactly like my mom used to do. I try to add something to, and I don't know how to sew, but I try to add something new to the costume. So this year, she wanted to be a Colombian girl. So she had the costume, and then, we use flowers and like a headband, like a headpiece. So I made from scratch, like all the flowers, and I put her on her hair and I made her up. And it was like if it was my mom doing it to me, because she used to look like she used to love putting makeup in my face. for Halloween, and my lips and my lashes and everything. And I saw my daughter and I had a picture of her, and it feels like it was me. Right. So that brings me really close. Like I have that from her. You know, she was really loving. She was very handsy. You know, one day, you know, I came from school and I was doing homework and I had to paint this little drawing that they gave me from school. And I was painting so hard that I put a hole on the paper. I remember crying and crying and crying until my mom came home, and I was like, Mommy, I ruined it. It's like, no worries, we're going to fix it right now. And then she cut a little piece of paper, put it in the back, put some tape on it, put it in the back so the hole was covered, and I color over it. So, you know what I mean? Like she covered the hole with another piece of paper. And with my daughter, it's kind of like the same. The other day we were doing the same, and I did exactly like my mom did. I said, look, I know how to fix it. We'll put a little piece of paper here and then you can color it. And it's just those little things that kind of like, you know, I know that if she had been here, she would be living with me. Like, I know she would be here with me every single day. Like, she would have moved here. I know. I think that was one of the hardest moments for me, was to give birth without my mom. I was hugging a picture of her as I was pushing. Like, I swear to God, I had her with me. I was pushing and pushing and pushing. And I just kept hugging so hard that picture of my mom. And I'm truly sure she passed by her hands before she came to mine. And I've always tell her, like, we call her Abuela Mimi. And I always tell her that she has an angel, that she can call upon her if she feels that she needs help, or that she's always watching, and she knows who she is. And we call her, it's like normal part of our lives to, you know, talk about Abuela Mimi.
You get a chance to go back to Colombia and take Mila with you to see the culture there, and does she get to speak Spanish?
Oh, she is fluent in Spanish because, you know, my husband is also Argentinian, so we speak Spanish at home. And, you know, she learns the English in school, and my father doesn't speak in English. So it's very important for me to, you know, for my daughter to be able to communicate with him and have a relationship with him. So she's super fluent in Spanish. She's really good in Spanish. She also, you know, starting to read in English, starting to read in Spanish. But if I have to be very truthful to you, I haven't taken her to Colombia. She's been to Argentina, but not to Colombia, because, you know, I grew up in the 80s and it was such a hard time. It was so violent and so hard. You know, we live with bombs and dead people all over, that when I go back, you know, I feel some sort of anxiety, even though it's great and nothing happens anymore. And you see a lot of, like, Medellin is now one of the most visited cities in the world, and a lot of American people live there, and it's way different than the Medellin I grew up with. But I'm so scared that if something will ever happen to her, it's my responsibility. So I'm holding it off, because for some reason, I know it's silly and there's no reason for me. I mean, she is proud of being Colombian descent, and she knows about Colombia. She knows the city. She knows the food that we eat. She knows the music. But I just want to wait a little bit until she's a little bit older, because I don't know, for some reason I'm scared. I don't know. It's silly. I know it's so silly. I know if people hear this, they're going to kill me. I love Colombia and I feel so proud to be Colombian, but I feel anxiety when I go there.
Well, I think that's natural for a mother to be protective, right? You know, you're going to guard her as much as you can through life and minimize any risk. So I think that's perfectly natural. Yeah. And when she gets older, she'll have an appreciation of it that she wouldn't have as a child anyway. Yeah,
yes. But my dad is like, oh, you got to bring her here, because then, you know, I'm growing older, and then, you know, I want to show her. And again, Colombia is the most beautiful place. And I know that nothing will happen to her. But for some reason, I don't know, I'm scared. Maybe next year, maybe soon. But, you know, I do make sure that she knows where she comes from. She knows a lot about Colombia. She's seen places and pictures and books and people dancing and things like that. So we are very in love with Colombia. It's just more the fact that the experience that I have as a growing up was so hard and violent that I get a little bit triggered.
Yeah, understandably. Now, when you read to her at night, do you read in Spanish or English?
In Spanish, always. And it's so pretty because even if I say most of our books are in English, we have some in Spanish, we have some in English, but if it's in English, then I'll read in Spanish. I'll translate. But then if I forget and I start, and it's like, Mommy, no, in Spanish. You're not reading Spanish.
Well, Anna, one of the things we like to do on this podcast is support other women in visual arts. And you have named a few women whose work you inspire. But when you look at your career thus far and your journey, who are the women that stand out for you that have meant the most to you in your journey?
In my journey. Well, you already have Gretchen. I call her Gret. Because I know that I don't say it right. So I told her, like, I'm going to call you Gret. So I don't say your name. But Gret has been, there's just one of like my role models, but like a friend, somebody that can truly, that she embodies everything that is to be a camera woman, not just for her actressy, but also for her soul, her mind, her spirit, her support for other. She fights for us. I mean, she's a voice. She's like, she's like amazing. I love her. I've also, I wrote about like Marisela, Alicia Robbins. These are women that we all come together and, we're looking for our own voice, our space. We're like that generation that comes behind Rachel and Rick Morano and all these very Mandy, all these very amazing and talented cinematographers that comes like this other group of women that were just behind them that we're trying to find our own voice. So they are amazing and admirable, their work, their passion, and also like our struggle, our hard work to get to where we are. I think that's very admirable. And the way we have is huge. And then I told you about Catalina, which is a Colombian artist. I really admire her because, like me, she started a little bit later in life, where she discovered her passion for painting, and she's doing big things. And she lives in Atlanta, but has a voice now there that represents Colombia, that represents women, that represents who we are. She paints emotions and people, and it's really pretty. She inspires me a lot too as well.
Well, I think it really does sum you up. Your passion is obvious, and your determination and your focus, and obviously your love of dancing. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with Myla as she pursues her dancing with you. Maybe one day dancing with the stars. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, she is. What's so funny that she is so different than I. She's so girly and loves dresses and makeup and color. Like, I usually dress on black because as a dancer, you always, at least our company and a lot of dancers dress in black. So I kind of got used to being always in black. She doesn't like black. So she's always with the most colorful dresses. She makes these colorful combinations. Nothing matches, but she's the happiest. She loves the like headbands and, so she's very, very different, very, very different. So the most important is that she is who she ever wants to be. I'll be here to support her. If she's a dancer, I hope she is. It would be amazing because she would have a family that supports her in her dream. But if she wants to be, I see her, she's very physical. More than anything, she's very, very physical. She loves the sports and, running and like in that sense, it feels like very much like a tomboy like me in the sense of physical things. But again, I will be here to support in her in whatever she wants to be. I just want her to be who she truly is. You know, she's been traveling with me since she was on my belly. She's never had anything stable, right? Mila has been with me because this is the first time that I'm in LA for more than a year. I was in Atlanta, Vancouver, New Orleans. Like I've been all over the place, and she's never had a home, right? She doesn't have a room. She doesn't have steady friends. She's always changing schools. So she's super strong, super adventurous. So that's my dream. I mean, kind of like my dream for her is for her to know that she belongs to the world. She can be a citizen of the world, that she can take on whatever adventure she wants, that to have a heart that is free to love, free to go after her dreams. But mainly that she doesn't have to be anything. She can be her, just her, and it'll be amazing and perfect.
Well, she has the ideal role model in her mother, that's for sure. Anna, it's been wonderful talking to you. I've really enjoyed our conversation and hearing your journey, and long may it continue. Of course, you've got a lot more to do in life. I can see that, and who knows where it will go, but we'll be following you. And I want to thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Chris, for the opportunity, for the space. And if I may say, thank you so much for caring so much about who I am. It's so pretty, this interview. Thank you, because I've never talked about so many things of this before. So thank you so much for, wanting to tell my story. I really appreciate it.
And to find out more about Anna's work, scroll down the show notes that accompany this episode, and you will find links to Anna's IMDb and also to her website and social media. And whilst you're on Instagram, do give us a follow and leave any comments or questions there. We'd love to hear from you, any suggestions you have for guests. We are booking right through into 2024 now, because this rest of this season 1 right through to the end of the year is already booked. We have more great guests for you from all areas of visual arts. If you'd like to reach us via email, our address is hollowellstudios@gmail.com. My thanks again to my guest, Ana Amortegui, and to you for listening. I'll be back next week, so I do hope you'll join me then.